Welcome viewers, you're watching Macattack, and in this video I'm going to be explaining and outlining my personal Star Wars Combatant grading system. This video was inspired by a video Jensaraai posted, that being his first Post-Mortem analysis, link in the description, in which he outlined the Star Wars Combatant tiering system that he and the rest of the Fanalysis Council use. During the video he applied the titles of the different levels I outlined in my first versus video to his tiering system. This video idea is one I've thought about for a while, and given Jensaraai's support and the resparking of the idea, I thought I'd give it a go. Before I start, I would like to state several things. Firstly, this is highly opinion based, and though of course I feel it is supported as strongly as possible by the law, there will likely be differences between interpretations. I'm not saying this is the definitive ranking, I am simply putting forward my ideas of what such a ranking might look like. Furthermore, this is not meant in any way as a rebuttal to Jensaraai's video, as I in fact agree with him for the most part, with only minor variations. This is simply my take on what was a very well put together analysis on his part. Finally, this is an analysis of overall combative ability, taking into account martial skill, weaponry, gear, force capabilities, physical attributes, and approach. Simply put, it's a general ordering of how good the combatants are, without taking circumstance into account. I'm not suggesting that someone lower down can never beat someone higher up, I'm simply saying it's less likely. Unless there is a big enough gap in power or skill between two opponents, I am a firm believer that how the specific advantages and disadvantages of one combatant against another match up is more important in determining the outcome of a fight than simply power levels or ABC logic. As a result, just because opponent A could, or has, beaten opponent B, it doesn't necessarily mean opponent A is an overall superior combatant. And just because opponent A beats opponent B, and opponent B beats opponent C, it doesn't necessarily mean that opponent A would beat opponent C. The only way this logic works, in my opinion, is if the gap between the opponents as combatants is substantial. Now, on with the video. In order to separate my rankings from the tier system used by the Fanalysis Council, and the level system used by Nick Gillard and the rest of the prequel stunt team, I've coined my ranks as grades, using a 1 to 10 scale, with 1 being the weakest and 10 being the most combatively viable. In order to fit this 10 grade structure, I have slightly altered the 7 headers picked up by Jensaraai, as presented in my debut versus video, link in the description, to accommodate 3 extra. These headings represent how well a combatant could handle an engagement with your average rank and file Jedi Knight or Sith warrior, and how effective they would be at achieving victory. For each grade, I'll offer a brief description and a few examples of combatants that I feel fit the mould. Grade 10, Unnatural Anomaly. This grade contains combatants of a level that a natural mortal being could never reach. As a result, such beings gained this power unnaturally and in excess of what should be possible. Examples of such beings include the Ones, the Father, the Daughter, the Son, and Abeloth. I would also say that had Anakin reached his full potential as the Chosen One, he would likely have crept into this grade. And it's also possible that Grandmaster Luke Skywalker, in his prime, at the point of reaching oneness with the Force in his physical body, was scraping the edge of this grade. However, neither can be consistently placed here, purely based on what they have displayed. Grade 9, Complete Mastery. This grade contains combatants who could defeat the average Jedi or Sith with a completely masterful display of combative prowess. In other words, a grade 9 combatant could utterly dominate the average Jedi or Sith with no problems whatsoever. Examples of such combatants include the Grand Masters Yoda and Luke Skywalker, and the Dark Lords Valkorion, Darth Sidious, and the reborn Darth Krayt. Grade 8, Advanced Mastery. This grade contains combatants that could defeat the average Jedi or Sith with a display of mastery that only a handful of combatants from any given era could achieve. A grade 9 combatant could handily take out the average Jedi or Sith without too much effort. Examples of such combatants include the Jedi Master Mace Windu, the Dark Lords Exar Kun, Darth Bane, Darth Tyrannus, and Darth Vader. Grade 7, Standard Mastery. This grade contains combatants that could defeat the average Jedi or Sith in a masterful way, though with some effort on their part. Their victory would be all but assured, however they couldn't simply blow their opponent away. There will often be several such combatants of this grade in each era, either average Force sensitive reaching their absolute peak, or extremely powerful Force sensitives, making their way towards being ranked among the all-time grades. Examples of such combatants include the Jedi Masters Obi-Wan Kenobi and Kyle Katarn, the Jedi Knights Anakin Skywalker and Galen Marek, and the Dark Lord Darth Malak. Grade 6, Basic Mastery. This grade contains combatants who could defeat the average Jedi or Sith handily in a masterful way, but only if they really put the effort in. They could likely defeat such an opponent without really trying, though they would have to go all out if they wanted to dominate the engagement. Still far above average for a fully trained Force wielder, but a fair way off the all-time grades. Examples of such combatants include the Jedi Masters Ven Zalo, Plo Koon, Shak Ti, Kit Fisto, and the Sith Assassin Asajj Ventress. Grade 5, Advanced Application. This grade contains combatants who, if they tried their hardest, could comfortably defeat the average Jedi or Sith, using an advanced application of combat. However, if they don't put the effort in, they run the risk of defeat, though even without going all out, losing such a fight would be unlikely. Examples of such combatants include the Jedi Masters Quinlan Vos, Luminara Unduli, and Ram Kota, the Jedi Knight Aaron Lanier, and the Sith Lord Vindican. Grade 4, Standard Application. This grade contains combatants who could achieve victory with their application of combat against the average Jedi or Sith, but it would require all of their effort to make such a victory seem comfortable. Simply put, they are a step above average, and if they execute the fight well, their victory would be highly likely. But a mistake could prove costly. Examples of such combatants include the Jedi Knights Silvar, Aayla Secura, and Boltar Swan, the Dark Jedi Xanatos, and the Imperial Grand Inquisitor. Grade 3, Basic Application. This is the last grade in which victory against the average Jedi or Sith would be probable. These combatants are just above the average standard of fully trained Force wielders, and though their victory against such opponents would therefore be likely, it certainly isn't assured. This grade primarily consists of skilled warriors in the making, or those who simply don't have the drive or strength to push their technique to the truly high levels. Examples of such combatants include the Jedi Knights Nodar Veb, the Jedi Padawans Ahsoka Tano and Barry Sophie, the Dark Jedi Komari Vosa, and the Sith Apprentice Sirak. Grade 2, Standard Knowledge. This contains combatants who have a decent awareness of how to defeat the average Jedi or Sith, but their application isn't quite up to par. They could likely contend well against such an opponent, but it is unlikely that they would actually achieve victory. The majority of combatants in this grade are either still in training and are yet to reach their combative peak, or are disinclined to push themselves this way due to a lack of interest in fighting. Examples of such combatants include many of the Jedi Knights and Padawans who fell during the First Battle of Geonosis, such as the Jedi Knight Sarisa Jeng. Other examples include the Jedi Knight Johan Othone, the Jedi Padawans Ezra Bridger and Scout, and the Imperial Fifth Brother Inquisitor. Grade 1, Basic Knowledge. This contains combatants who have a limited awareness of how to handle a fight against the average Jedi or Sith. They are often early on in their training, far from fully developed as combatants, or handicapped in some way that prevents them from posing a viable threat to the average fully trained Force wielder. Examples of such combatants include most young trainees, such as the Jedi Padawan Zet Zukasa and Nox. Younglings such as Liam would likely fit towards the bottom of this grade, as would the average non-Force sensitive adult humanoid civilian. So that's the outline of my combatant grading system, applied to Star Wars. Like I say, this is highly subjective, so don't get yourself too annoyed at the ordering. Instead, I would like to make this a somewhat interactive topic, so it'd be great if you could leave your ranking in the comments. You could use my grading scale or your own grading scale, different characters or same characters, it's really up to you. Let's just have it be a nice, friendly debate. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you.